just read is from the Gospel of John. The Gospel of John is a very interesting book for many reasons. It is very different from the other three Gospels, Matthew, Luke, and Mark. It talks a lot about the Spirit, and it strongly separates heaven from earth, spiritual from material things, which we call dualism. It also has many Bible verses that we love, such as 3:16. Shall we read together? For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, so that everyone who believes in Him may not perish, but may have eternal life. John's Gospel is known for many things, but for me, it is the Gospel of love. When we compare the four Gospels and search how many times the word love is used, we get this result. As you can see, the word love appears the most in John's Gospel. John has something important to say about love. Thinking about the topic of love throughout the week, I was not sure if I can deliver a new message about love at all. Because we all seem to know about love. God's love for us, parents' love for children, love between lovers, love between friends, love between a pastor and congregation. We are all experts in love, aren't we? If one has fallen in love, even once in his or her lifetime, that person can talk about love and can give some advice to someone without any experience. Some people try to classify kinds of love, such as the unconditional love of parents toward children, love between lovers, or between a husband and wife, and the love of God toward us. What is interesting is that the first two kinds of love, the love of parents toward children and the love between lovers, do not seem to be under our control. In other words, we cannot choose when to love, who to love, and how much we love. For example, can somebody say, starting an hour from now, I will love her or him, and I will love her this much, and increase my love little by little. Another example. Son, you are very naughty today. I will stop loving you for a while. Then a few days later, I will start loving you again. Do these make sense? No. Why? Because we are not always in control of love. Rather, love is in control of us. If there is a love switch in the back of our head, and if we can switch on and off easily according to our whim and mood, we might be able to say that we are in control of love. But we are not. This really made me wonder what kind of love it was that Jesus had toward people. In today's passage, the word love is used many times, and in all cases, love has something to do with Jesus. Jesus loved Lazarus, Jesus loved Martha, and Jesus loved Mary. Jesus loved all three siblings. But did you notice that Jesus doesn't seem to be very disturbed by the fact that Lazarus died? The evangelist John clearly expresses this by saying, Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. Not very strong emotion about somebody's death, isn't it? However, later, this calmness of Jesus is changed dramatically. Looking at Mary and Martha weeping so hard over Lazarus' death, Jesus now begins to weep as well. Why is just weeping? He didn't share a tear when he knew earlier. But why now? John gives the reason in verse 33. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. Have you ever experienced a deep frustration, despair, hopelessness, distress, or wretchedness? Have you ever thought that this deep, sad feeling can never be recovered? And as you cry in the midst of despair, have you been comforted by someone who cries with you at the moment? No words, no rhetorically well-planned speech might be as touching as the presence of someone who cries with you. You appreciate their presence, sympathy, and heart. Crying for somebody who is in great distress is precious. Not too long ago, a woman named Nancy passed away with cancer. As her friends and family tried to work through the grieving process, they shared memories of her with one another. For one friend, Carol, two memories stood out in her mind. She remembered that when she was going through a painful divorce, she had once expressed her pain to Nancy and cried in her arms. She remembered that Nancy cried along with her. Then, several years later, when Carol met somebody new, she excitedly told Nancy about the love she had found. Once again, Nancy had cried with Carol, and this time, tears of joy. Carol may have had some memories of Nancy, but what meant the most to her was that Nancy has cried with her. In our passage, we hear that Jesus wept. John 11:35 said Jesus began to weep. Other versions simply say Jesus wept. So brief and yet so powerful. Jesus cried, but it was not because Lazarus was dead. It was because those who are left behind were in deep agony. Jesus shared their agony and cried with them. What kind of love do you think this is? Is this love between friends? Is this like the love of parents for their children? Or the love between lovers? I tend to think Jesus as my best friend. And for this reason, I'm inclined to think that Jesus' love is like the love of best friends. Truly, best friends can cry with you and for you. However, it might be wrong to compare Jesus' love with one of these kinds of love. Because these kinds of love are very limited. Think about the love between best friends. All the friends you have cannot be your best friends. If so, they are not your best friends. The term best friends is exclusive. How about the love of parents? Is it okay to call Jesus' love as parents' love? This kind of love is also limited. You do not call all kids your children. You only call a child your own when he or she belongs to you biologically or legally. How about the love of lovers? As you know, I don't need to even explain this. You are supposed to have only one true love at one time. If you have two, that is called scandal. So we have problem in comparing Jesus' love with the love we experience. Because Jesus' love is far broader and more inclusive than any kind of love that we know. However, there is one thing in common. That is, it seems that Jesus doesn't seem to be in control of love. Jesus cannot help but love us. Jesus cannot help but sacrifice his life for us because he himself is love. A great difference between the love of Jesus and the love that we have known is that Jesus does not select a few who are handsome, pretty, wealthy, smart, or disobedient, or obedient to love. Jesus has for us a love that is more intense than the love of lovers, stronger than the love of parents, and is everlasting. We can begin to understand how powerful the love of Jesus for us is. And now I invite everyone to consider what our love toward Jesus is like, especially in the time of Lent. As we follow Jesus through his journey in suffering and crucifixion, let us also join Jesus and weep with him as Jesus has already done for us. What kind of love is that? Is that like a parent's love or best friends or lovers? I think that categorizing this love is not the important question. The important question for us is, did you stay with Jesus and cry with him as he goes through suffering and hardship?